Ta-da.
Hey Mike,
Hey there, Pat.
how are you doing?
I'm doing okay, all factors considered. This is my very first Zoom meeting.
It's nice to finally see you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's nice to finally.
Well,
Yeah.
this is actually the
So
second time we've met.
I wasn't really going to. Yeah.
Or third.
I wasn't really going. This is just one in the industry as a writer.
Yeah.
So just to start, just give me kind of a rundown of your career as an editor in the industry.
My career as an editor in the
Yeah.
industry. Well, I became an editor as a result of the writing group that I was running,
Okay.
you know,
Round Rock Rock
the Round Rock Writers Guild.
Guild. Yes.
Yeah, it's been through a couple of different name changes, but it was suggested there that maybe I ought to do this professionally.
Yeah.
So I did. You know, the
Yeah.
initially, some of the contracts I took were some of the editing jobs were from members of the group, and
Yeah.
and everything else has been by word of mouth.
Okay.
So I don't have a website. I don't advertise anywhere. I just get people sending me emails or whatever, and that's how I get my work.
Great.
So,
So, how has been your experience so far? I mean,
oh,
have you had
it's
to adapt? Have you had to do any changes? Have you had how your experience in the as an editor?
it's a learning experience. If I had, yeah, I mean, my college degree is in forestry. You know,
Oh wow!
and I spent 30 years programming computers.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
so it's not like I trained for this.
Yeah.
It's just that even as a kid, I used to write stories all the time, and in school we'd have to write like 2-page essays every day, and
Yeah.
I would write six.
Yeah.
Just fill the thing up. In the same time that everybody was still struggling to write too, I just wrote these things. Um, and then I got away from it for a while because I have a lot of different interests. Um,
Yeah.
and but when I moved here to Texas, um, and getting on the network before there was the regular internet, where it was the ARPANET, and my company was using that, and so we had this internal mail system, which had special interest groups. And so for about 6.5 years, I wrote a monthly astronomy calendar,
Oh. Oh.
which started out as just what's going on in the sky every night.
Yeah.
Um, but I also included explanations, and it just went from there. These things ended up being from
So
a one-page calendar sort of
let,
thing to
let me
seven
ask.
7 or 8 pages of just jumping itself down and writing itself out sort of
so
stuff.
so so let me ask you a question. Let me interject a little bit.
Sure.
Do you have any recommendations for a telescope?
uh, I I have not done any. I had a Celestron C8. Um,
Okay.
you know, um, but I don't have it anymore.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. Let me
and,
move. Let me
and, and
move on.
I've been away from it. Actually, the best thing to do is start with a decent pair of binoculars,
Okay.
and maybe a camera tripod to put it on so you can keep it
Oh,
steady.
yeah.
I mean, you really should do that first, and then research, what's available and your level of interest in astronomy, because I ended up getting a C8, uh, 8-inch, just think about this big, this
Okay,
long, but
let's
but
move on to the next,
the light
the next
folded
question.
inside.
Let's move on to the next question.
Okay.
So I'm doing this interview because I feel like I feel like many people who are trying and they feel like it is difficult to succeed as a writer. So I
Okay.
wanted to ask you one simple question is how does one become a writer?
You learn the alphabet. You learn how to make the alphabet into words and words
Okay.
into clauses and sentences, and just keep doing it. That's kind of it. I mean, I really, in my heart, I feel like everybody can write a story
Yeah.
and can write a halfway decent story at least. Some people just don't have that aptitude.
Yeah.
So it's not like everybody's and success for being a writer
Yeah.
is different for different people,
Yeah.
right? To a lot of people, it's getting published, come hell or high water. They'll just throw something together and throw it out of Amazon, and it is just crap.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people just do that, and call themselves a writer.
Yeah.
Fine, they've met that now very minimum criteria. On the other hand, there is nothing that I've written that I've submitted to have published anywhere.
Oh, okay.
Okay, my unless you want to look at it as you put something out on can't think of the site now, but self-publishing sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time on a website called librarything.com,
Okay.
where you catalog your books.
Okay.
All these books behind me, you see there? That's about
Yeah.
1/10 of the books in this house. I mean, I've got books in every room in this house.
Yeah.
So there are groups out there. You can join discussions, and they don't even have to be about books at all. But you can write reviews out there. It's very good, but there are kind of like socially oriented groups.
So
And
I have a question for you.
and I'll write something and just toss it out there just to see what their reaction is.
So let me move forward a little bit.
Sure.
If you look at the writing in the field, there are different specialties of fields, right? There's the academic field, there's the research field, and there's also the commercial side.
Right.
In your experience, which field has been the most successful for writers?
Not research.
Not research.
Not research. I mean, if you're looking to, for a little notoriety and maybe actually get a well-known publisher to publish your books, mostly what you want to do right now is write young adult paranormal romance. That's the thing,
Okay.
Especially if it involves werewolves or vampires or something,
Yeah, that is pretty big. Even in comics, it's pretty big.
And my eyes roll backwards in my head every time I have to edit one of those things.
Yeah.
Because it's just not my thing. I personally am a very much reality-based sort of thing. Most of what I read is nonfiction.
Yeah.
But it's purely for myself. I mean, I've read a lot of fantasies. I think the best of that stuff I've read is the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant series, right?
Okay.
Stephen R. Donaldson. It was like, holy cow! I mean, the books are down there. It takes more than the entire shelf.
Have you? I'm gonna test you a little bit. Have you heard of Ready Player 2?
Ready Player 2. I've seen the movie Ready Player 1.
Yeah, they made the movie based off of the book.
No,
I don't know if you heard of Ready Player 2.
I have.
You just released it.
No.
I was going through my Twitter feed and people were saying it's terrible, but they actually liked it.
Well, yeah, yeah,
it's pretty much catering to the cyberpunk culture essentially.
sure.
Yeah, but I haven't read it. I haven't read it. Nor did I read Ready Player One, but I did watch Ready Player One the movie. So I might grab the Ready Player One or Ready Player Two book in sometime soon in the future. So yeah, but anyway, I wanted to ask you, how do you make writing relevant to these days? I mean, you seem like you're kind of more into nonfiction, but
Yeah.
writing in general, just because most platforms are going digital these days, right?
Yeah.
So how do you make writing relevant again? How do you adapt your language to your audience in a way that they can relate to it?
I think the trick to really good writing is to keep it real.
Okay.
Not necessarily the physics. I mean, you can write these great fantasy things where things float around all the time, but whatever you want. But just have the people act in a realistic manner, unless there's a reason that they shouldn't, because like they're really cyborgs or something.
Yeah.
It's the reader has to be able to connect with someone in the story.
Yeah.
Right. For example, the Thomas Covenant series there, right?
Yeah.
You don't like Thomas Covenant. He's not a nice guy.
Yeah.
But it's all the people that he interacts with that eventually teach him, they eventually show him, a more, a more altruistic behavior.
Yeah. So, talking about books, I was going to share my screen now because I just wanted to show you a little bit some of the steps that a website called readsy.com recommended.
Okay.
Comes to publishing a book. So let me share my screen and maybe I hope you can see it. Let's see.
Well, I'll have to put my eyeballs on. So if you see a glare, it's because I got my glasses on.
Okay. So I'll quickly go through these. They said Ridley.com was saying how to write a book in 15 amazingly simple steps. And find your big idea, search your genre, the line, which is probably one of the most important stuff I think would have to be to create an outline to get a sense of what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, well,
the fourth step would have to be to start off strong. So start the book and making a first draft. So you want to flesh out your story, flesh out your characters, and really try to paint a real picture. And then sixth step is write reader first. So I think you want to write a book that people will really enjoy. And this is pretty much the cardinal rule. You should always be thinking about your audience and try to write reader first. So focusing on the audience first. Set word count goals. I never said that word count.
Well, I have to admit that one of the members of that writing group asked me to have a look at her manuscript.
Oh, okay.
Right. Now with the critique part of the group meetings, nobody's supposed to submit more than 10 pages.
Yeah.
And so I told her that I would look at 10 pages for free.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, give her an evaluation of what I thought there. And so she sent me the first 2 chapters.
Oh, wow.
It was 176 pages. It's like,
anyways, moving on. Number 8, establish a healthy routine. Number 9, set up a productive space. Number 10, use writing software. So I was using readsy.com and
yeah, Scrivener.
what's
Yeah,
it called? Google Docs.
right
And
there,
then
on
number
the screen
11,
there.
keep yourself motivated. That's a big one,
Scrivener is
right?
a great thing. Say it again.
Keep yourself motivated. Oh, what's it called?
There's a software package
What's it
called
called?
Scrivener.
Scrivener? Okay.
Yeah, that's very good. I'm still learning it, but I've had to edit a couple of manuscripts that people sent me
Number 12.
Scrivener docs. So
Okay. Number 12, take setbacks as they come.
yeah,
Number 13 and number 15, publish your book. So how do you feel about this? How do you feel about this? What do you think?
generally that's really nice. It'd be great if everything worked that way, but
Yeah.
it depends on the person.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the best stuff I've written, it's like lately I've been doing very little other than journaling as for my writing. But there's a reason I'm doing that. So I have a fountain pen and I filled up I've got these Moleskine books.
Okay.
Right? And this is one I use mostly for the writing group meetings, but I would fill these things up. I've got 6 of these I've filled up already, and it's only been like a year and a half.
Oh wow.
And I'll use both sides of the page, and I do keep a table of contents as I go. So.
Yeah. Anyway, we have 5 minutes left.
Okay.
But I wanted to ask you first. How do you go about writing a book? What do you think? Well, if I were to want to publish a book, how would I go about doing it?
Well, yeah, those steps certainly would be a good basis, but I've found that a lot of people don't follow that stuff at all, other than just to keep at it.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one member of the writing group who wrote the first chapter of this story. She's an amazing writer. I really was blown away by the skill that she had, being as young as she was. Yeah. And she wasn't happy with it. And then the next week she came in with the same chapter, but she rewrote the characters entirely, changed the gender, the responsibilities of 2 of them, and it worked much better. And what she had was great.
Yeah.
I just cannot say enough. I've lost contact with this gal. She's moved out to California now. But well, the first thing is finish a story.
Okay.
And then go through and revise it stick it in a drawer for a couple of weeks and revise it. Or go change the font that you've written it in. If you got it on the computer, change the font and reread it, because it's like you're reading it for the first time.
Yeah.
All right. And then, correct your spelling and punctuation and stuff errors as you go, and then get it out to a copy editor. If you think it's good, get it copy edited, because you're not going to see the mistakes that you make.
Yeah.
Your brain will fill in words that are missing, and it will ignore all kinds of crap that you do and don't realize it.
Okay, Mike, final question.
Yep.
What is the most important factor in becoming a writer? In becoming a successful writer or a writer? The way.
Boy. It's not necessarily, I wouldn't say it's writing every day, writing every other day, if it's whatever, but experience a lot of things, in order to be successful at writing something, you kind of need to know something about the subject matter.
Yeah.
Other than, read about it in other people's books.
Yeah.
And sometimes, if you're talking about being on a nuclear submarine, that's a very limited number of people who could write from experience, but do that kind of research. I edited one book where it involved a Ford F-350 King cab, and there were just some things that were going on that didn't seem right to me. So I went up to the Ford dealer with a 2x4 and said, I want to see an F-350 because I wanted to check out the plausibility of what that scene was, and I came to the conclusion that this could not possibly have happened.
Yeah.
And you've got to make it plausible.
Yeah.
So if you can do that stuff on your own, if you're talking about being in a cave, well, go up to interspace caverns or somewhere else. And, when I was a kid, I used to crawl around in iron mines up in New York State.
Mike, we're about out of time.
Okay.
So do you have any message for people, for writers, for Christmas, for anyone?
Yeah. Do it because you love it, not because you think you got to be good at it.
There you go. There you
All right? You got to like what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, that was awesome, Mike. See, it wasn't too bad.
No.
Was it so that bad? It wasn't that bad.
No, hey, it's okay. I had my glass of water here. It's fine.
We're about to end this. We're about to end our interview.
Okay.
So, Mike, take care. Merry Christmas
thing.
and happy holidays.
Happy Festivus to you too.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Okay. I don't know how to end this thing. You're going to have to do it.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
Okay.